unless they are compelled by evidence in the public domain to change their story and admit something. And then they admit that little thing, and then they carry on lying about everything else.
And Assistant Commissioner John Yates insisted there was no need to reopen the phone hacking investigation. MPs later condemned News International's witnesses for their collective amnesia. But Mark Lewis, who gave evidence as well, says some were still nervous of their power.
Afterwards, two of the committee members came up to me and said, "You're so brave to be able to stand up to Murdoch and say he doesn't scare you." And I just thought to myself, well, crikey, you're the people who declare war in my name, and you are saying that, you know, I'm the one who's brave because I've taken on Rupert Murdoch. You're meant to do that, not me.
In New York, where the Murdoch Group is based, the hacking scandal could easily be dismissed as no more than a little local difficulty from across the pond. Why would the global media giant Rupert Murdoch need to worry?
He is the most powerful person in the media business in the world. I don't think the company or Murdoch himself really feel part of any place but News Corporation. So it is a state within a state.
But New York's also home to a rival paper with a long record of investigations and a desire to uncover the truth about allegations of illegality, the heart of the Murdoch empire. Pulitzer Prize winner Joe Becker was part of the team the New York Times sent to London. They talked off the record to more than a dozen News of the World journalists.
We heard the same story over and over again. This was no secret in the News of the World. As someone told me, you know, the office cat knew. I mean, everybody knew. Essentially, all of the big showbiz splashes, one reporter said, came from the dark arts. And they were encouraged to use them.
And the New York Times got one former News of the World journalist to go on the record. Sean Hoare, who'd quit with a drink and drugs problem, said that Andy Coulson had not only known about phone hacking, but had actively encouraged it. Afterwards, police in the UK questioned him, not as a new witness, but as a suspect. And he insisted his solicitor was present when he talked to us.
It was endemic. You know, it happened.
Phone hacking and the use of illegal practices to secure stories, that was endemic. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yeah. People were scared, right? So if you've got to get a story, you've got to get it. And you have to get that by whatever means.
Were you subject to that pressure?
Yeah, of course I was. I mean, that is the culture of News International.
If a couple of reporters from the New York Times can come here and find reporters to tell us what's going on, it's astonishing that Scotland Yard couldn't or didn't.
The police have already paid a heavy price for their failure to investigate properly. Yesterday, Britain's top police officer resigned, but said there was no impropriety in his links to a former News of the World journalist. Today, Assistant Commissioner John Yates also resigned. In April this year, Rebecca Brooks wrote to Parliament that she was simply stating the widely held belief that payments had been made in the past to police officers. The MP who raised the issue is one of the very few who've taken on Mr. Murdoch.
The relationship between the News of the World and the Metropolitan Police is the thing I was trying to get at in 2003, and I think has continued to be sort of institutionally corrupting.
Later that year, the News of the World and the Mail on Sunday both printed a picture of Mr. Bryant, who's gay, posing in his underwear. He was clearly in News International's sights.
On one occasion at Labour Party conference, Andrew Pearce, who was at the time writing for the Times, just